we're trying to read tea leaves and body language and what kinds of questions were the panelists asking. We're trying to figure out what they're thinking. And it's really a process. With the FTC, it took years to get the FTC to give guidance to social media and the blogosphere about liability and issues like that. And now we're just trying to work through the consequences of that, because brands, for example, have to have policies on educating their bloggers or their speakers. They have to monitor. And I'm working with brands right now to develop a social media policy. So it's kind of like we're going through that piece of the puzzle with the government, but now the FDA is going through this. And I don't think we're going to expect to see answers very, very soon. I think one interesting commentator, presenter today said, give us something, though, by the end of 2010. Well, yeah, good luck. But the thing that's going to be very interesting by the FDA, and here's what I'm hopeful for, and I'm going to tee this up right at the beginning of the conversation. They could roll this out in phases. We don't need to wait for 5 years to get the whole package to fill in the Code of Federal Regulations, the regulations. They could roll this out in phases and say, here's certain platforms that are acceptable. Here's, display ads. That's an acceptable form of advertising so long as it does A, B, C, and D, and have balanced information. And, for Twitter, one-click away rule is applicable. We're going to pull back our findings on what we said earlier this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react and when they react. And I think for those of you and your clients that's going to do comments that are due by the end of February, I would encourage you, because it's in everybody's interest, that they roll this out in phases. So I want to start with that. First thing, the key themes. Definitely, we heard again and again and again. I mean, there was a point at which, or been there, done that after the third presentation. The benefits of the Internet, Web 2.0, and user-generated content. Interestingly, nobody, for purposes of the panel, really pulled that apart. They kind of put all this stuff in one bucket, unfortunately. And I'm hoping, if we don't hear it tomorrow, again, I encourage you, they need to understand the distinction between, Web 1.0, Web 2.0, the kind of environment you have when pharma companies disseminate information through the web to a passive consumer, like on a website, versus the type of information that's used in user-generated comment. Those are two very different worlds, and I hope the FDA gets that distinction, because they could regulate Web 1.0 first. And that would be a tremendous advantage to all our clients. I'm putting in my own bias. I'm trying to say what you all could do in comments, or your clients could do for comments by February. But we heard that, obviously, whatever you want to call it, the Internet, user-generated content, communities, they provide benefits to consumers, they provide benefits to the professionals. Instead of journals, instead of going to conferences, professionals can now go online, share information, share ideas, and there's instantaneous peer review. That's a terrific advancement. The bottom line and also, this kind of world enhances the doctor-patient relationship. So that when we go to the doctor and we've done our homework, we're aggressively asking questions of our care provider. That's different than what our mom and dad used to do, where they would just go to the doctor, go to the hospital, oh, my doctor's giving me this medication, or oh, I've got to go in the hospital for this, or have the surgery for that. We're much more empowered, and that's good. And so if the FDA can hear loud and clear that this kind of social media is beneficial, that's a great result. That's a great result. Okay, number two, how consumers behave. One of the things that absolutely baffled me about the warning letters back in April, and for those of you who don't know, it was a criticism of when you do a Google search and you go to a sponsored link, and it only obviously has a limited number of characters, and there wasn't appropriate risk information. Even though it was one click away, the FDA says, well, that's faulty. that runs afoul of the regulations, and you just hit your head against the wall and say, where are you guys? I mean, do you not understand how consumers navigate on the web and get their information? I think today they got an earful about consumer behavior, how they navigate online. So I think, that, again, that was beneficial, very important. Number 3, a couple of the pharma companies said this, as well as a couple of trade associations. If you do, right now in this era of uncertainty, what's happening? Pharma companies, brands become what? Scared. Talk to a couple of you. Our clients, in contrast to many other types of brands in different industries, they're inherently conservative. They don't like to take risks. They don't want a warning letter. It's kind of their image is very important in terms of risk management. So they'll do nothing as opposed to pushing the envelope. So in that kind of risk-adverse environment, uncertainty is not good, and neither is the flip side of the coin, overregulation. So the compelling argument is, FDA, if you do nothing, or if you overregulate it, we're going to shut down. We're not going to allow Ogilvy, or we're going to not allow our marketing people to do these kinds of innovative campaigns. So what's going to happen to the consumer? They're going to go online and not get reliable, accurate, complete information. And in fact, notwithstanding your bias, FDA, the pharma companies provide and have the ability to provide accurate information to the consumer. That's good. So rather than create a chilling effect by doing nothing or over-regulating, we need to have a voice in this conversation. So that was a theme I think we heard again and again.